Hello and welcome to SaltWire today for Tuesday, November 8th. I'm your host, Kate Walker. Starting today, parents and guardians can book Pfizer's infant COVID-19 vaccine for kids 6 months to 4 years old. Public Health says young children will need 3 doses of the Pfizer infant vaccine at least 8 weeks apart to complete their primary series. Moderna's infant COVID-19 vaccine, which has been available for a few months, only requires 2 doses at least 8 weeks apart. Nova Scotia's Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Strang, says there is no substantial difference between the 2 vaccines. More work needs to be done to Nova Scotia's immigration programs as the province moves towards its goal of 2 million people by 2060. That's according to the Auditor General's report released today. Kim Adair, Nova Scotia's Auditor General, says Nova Scotia has experienced the highest immigrant landings in Atlantic Canada in the last few years. But if the province wants to double the population over the next 40 years, she says there's added pressure on immigration programs. 15 recommendations were made to the Department of Labor, Skills and Immigration, which were all accepted. The Auditor General says the government spends $6.4 million a year in settlement services, but does not know if this spending is achieving the objective to retain immigrants. Some of the recommendations by the AG include adding 12 new positions to process more applications, 2 new positions to conduct fraud investigations and program compliance reviews, and 6 navigators to support regional settlement and retention. There's rising concern on social media for those who are unhoused in our city. One incident in particular was captured this morning when a man was laying in the middle of the street with cars passing by in Halifax. One concerned citizen, Tony Sanderson, took to Twitter this morning after what he experienced while driving downtown.
So, I don't really know what's going on in this city anymore. I was just driving past Brunswick and Doyle Street, and there was an injured man. He was unhoused, laying in the middle of the lane. I was by Cambridge Suites and watched like 20 cars drive around him. So I stopped and got out and gave him help. He was clearly injured and he was very hurt. And I called 911 and that's all I could do. I gave them an orange and they came, but let's be better. Let's be better people. Let's treat everybody with the same respect. This is bull.
The tweet that accompanies his photo reads in part, "How could you miss this man? Appreciate the other 3 people who helped me carry this man out of the road after 30 cars dusted past, bringing the total cars to easily 50. Hang your head in shame." The Sustain Technologies plant in Chester, Nova Scotia has begun producing liquid fuel with its technology that uses curbside garbage as a raw material. The company says its technology can transform up to 90% of municipal solid waste into valuable commercial products. Bill Spur has more on the company that was recently named Innovator of the Year by Divert Nova Scotia.
Sustain Technologies, headquartered in Chester, has developed technology that transforms curbside garbage, also called municipal solid waste, or MSW, into high-value fuels and biomass pellets, converting up to 90% of the MSW into valuable commercial products. CEO Peter Vinal says his process is based on one he learned about in Spain 8 years ago, in which garbage is cooked so it can be broken down into fibers and separated. The company has just begun producing liquid fuel and is about a year away from producing biomass that can be sold as a clean fuel pellet for industry, like power companies, or other industrial heat users. In Canada, we recycle just 9% of our plastics, with the rest dumped in landfill and incinerators or tossed away as litter. For every ton of waste that Sustain processes, it reduces CO2 emissions by 2 to 3 tons. That translates to reducing 175,000 tons of greenhouse gas emissions, equivalent to taking 45,000 cars off the road. Sustain has been named Innovator of the Year by Divert Nova Scotia.
Thousands of poppies are on display at Sullivan's Pond in Dartmouth ahead of Remembrance Day. The poppies were handmade by the residents of Oakwood Terrace Nursing Home. It's a project that was inspired by a similar one that was done in a church in Calgary in 2019.
When I mentioned it to them and showed them the pictures, they were so enthusiastic because the symbol is such a deep, it resonates so deeply with them, as many of them were first-hand witnesses of the war. And I thought with Halifax having its strong military roots, it would be a fitting city for us to launch such a project.
Each poppy is hand-knitted and hung on the Bridge of Courage.
So the very first year, it was 2020, and of course that was the year of COVID lockdowns. So we aimed to have 2,000 and we reached that. So last year we said, why don't we double that? And we did reach that goal. This year we said, why don't we add another 2,000? So we have 6,000 in total this year.
Family members and community volunteers also helped make the 6,000 poppies. It's time now for a glimpse of today's Thinking Out Loud with Sheldon McLeod. Today, Sheldon is speaking with two university professors who have turned a YouTube series into a book called Frequently Asked White Questions.
It was funny, Sheldon, because after doing our YouTube series for a couple of seasons, we, AJ and I would get together and regularly debrief about this with, our wonderful producer at Fernwood too, and laugh about some of the things that we said. But then we started to see patterns in the questions.
I think the question we're trying to ask in this experiment is it possible to encourage people to become anti-racist in a way that allows them to see the joy in being an anti-racist. So it's a project based in joy and love instead of like contempt and anger.
And for Sheldon's full conversation, head to the opinion section of SaltWire.com. Time now for the Atlantic Sports Wire, presented by Scott Squires.
The Professional Women's Hockey Players Association played a series of games in Truro recently. Here's part 2 of my conversation with Halifax native Jill Saunier, who has a message for young hockey players.
Just keep dreaming. Obviously, we're putting in the work right now so that, all these little girls have a place to dream and a place to play in their future. So I think just continuing to work hard, have fun with it, and hopefully we'll have a competitive league coming up soon so they can have a place to dream.
And for Jill, it was great to be able to come back to Nova Scotia, especially for one main reason.
I think just having my family here, honestly, my family and friends. I'm still very connected with the province and with the city. So it's been a long time since my family has been able to watch me live. So pretty cool to have my grandparents in the stands and my parents, of course. So I'm excited for everybody to be here.
I asked Jill if she had someone that she wanted to give a shout out to.
It would probably be my grandparents, obviously. They're getting old, but they don't miss a game, and just being able to actually be here physically in the rink today is pretty special. So it's definitely going to be a special day for sure.
You can learn more about the Professional Women's Hockey Players Association by visiting them online. In Halifax, I'm Scott Squires for the Atlantic Sports Wire.
Thank you, Scott. On to weather now to see what's coming up in the forecast. We're going to check in now with our weather specialist, Alistair Alders.
Thank you, Kate. Well, before we get into the forecast, we had a total lunar eclipse on display early this morning. Jason Dane was up bright and early, and he captured the lunar eclipse, put together this composition of the progression of the total eclipse. And thank you so much, Jason, for sharing this photo from Stillwater Lake, Nova Scotia, which is near Tantall. And this is actually the last total lunar eclipse until 2025. Now, weather-wise, what a change today. It was certainly blustery here in the Halifax area. We had a gusty northwest wind around. Temperatures were much cooler. The good news is that conditions will start to calm down as we go into Wednesday. This evening, we will have partly cloudy skies, but that northwest wind gusting 50 to 70 kilometers per hour. We'll see the temperature this evening near 5 degrees, and we drop to 2 degrees overnight tonight. Starting the day mainly sunny. That northwest wind will gust 40 to 60 first thing in the morning, but start to gradually diminish, and winds become light as we go throughout the afternoon on Wednesday. Only a high of 7 degrees, which is slightly below normal, but lots of sunshine. We will have a southwest wind that develops on Thursday, but that does calm down as we head into Remembrance Day. Right now, Friday looking pretty good. I am watching the weekend, though. We will have what is currently subtropical storm Nicole that will move up the eastern seaboard, the remnants of this, what will then be post-tropical storm. set to bring some rain and wind here to the Halifax area. Now, if the current track stays through New Brunswick, that will mean not a significant rainfall for us. There will be gusty winds though, so I'm keeping a very close eye on it all, and I'll have updates as the week progresses. Kate.
Thank you, Alistair. We leave you today with quite the marine life spectacle that was captured over the weekend near the Canso Causeway. Whales and sharks were caught on camera. Around this time each year, people gather near the Alts Cove Way Station along Trans-Canada Highway 104 to view marine life emerge from the causeway waterways, along with the occasional bird of prey flying in. Well, that's all for now. I'm your host, Kate Walker. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.